Hello, everybody. House Shrink again here with a new topic that I think you're going to love, but it's a bit intellectual, so I want you to pay attention. But I'm going to wait a few minutes as people start coming in so I don't have to repeat the title or the topic of today too many times, but I will. So people start coming in. Hello, Sarah. People just coming in, and these talks have been very, very popular. We get thousands of people that join us, so it's really very nice. Thank you for coming in. And pretty soon I'm going to be, excuse me, I'm going to be mentioning the topic, and I hope that you like it, and it'll be something that I think it'll be very helpful for you to see how things happen in the world and how you're affected in a very, very indirect way without you really knowing that you're being affected. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the tyranny of political correctness. Hello, Sarah. Hi, everybody. The tyranny of political correctness. Why is it a tyranny? Because it's groupthink. It's making you think in a particular way. If you don't agree with the group, then you're ostracized. And I will explain about that, how it allows you to become something that you're not. It's you are the product of groupthink. And what it does, it causes what I call robotic wimps. Robotic wimps. So, and this is what happens about 40 years ago, and just pay attention to this because you've been affected and you don't know that you have. About 40 years ago, education started changing, and it became more of a social constructivism kind of thing, where it was more important that you learn what they want you to think rather than to teach you how to think. And to teach you how to think is what it's all about. That's what liberty is all about, to allow you to think for yourself. So it's an anti-individualist. And what it does is it creates people that are robotic wimps. And most of the professors, a lot of the professors in academia now, especially in the good universities, don't have a backbone to stand up and say, no, wait a minute, this is wrong. Let me just show you how to do things. This is wrong. They don't do that. And part of it, too, is because they can get fired, or they can lose their grants, they can get ostracized. So here's the idea. What happens with political correctness? It is a way of thinking that is very manipulative. Because if you disagree, they don't argue with you and your beliefs. And it has nothing to do with racism or sexuality, nothing. They use that to manipulate you. These people use it to manipulate you. So if you disagree with a particular point, then the what happens is that you're shackled, you're handcuffed, and the handcuffs that you get are labels that nobody thinks are good, which are not. But it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you disagreeing with groupthink. And what are the silencers of expression? Well, you would be called a homophobic, a misogynist, a xenophobe, a racist, or the cancel culture, which if you have a business that you don't do things the way that you're supposed to, they block you, and people go out of business because they get sabotaged and they get blocked, and because you're not thinking the way you need to be thinking. And most of these people don't even know what those words mean, misogynist and xenophobe. They don't even know. They don't know any psychology or very little biology. So what they do is they give you labels, independent of what, if you make a statement and they don't like your statement, they're going to say, well, let's see, should we make him a racist or a homophobe? And then you're a racist, you're a homophobe. Right there, you can't say anything because you have been labeled with a despicable label. Nobody wants to be a homophobic or a xenophobic or a misogynist, but look how interesting it is. Okay, homophobic is a fear of homosexuality. Okay, misogynist is from the Greek. Misa means hatred, and gene, or from gynecology, gene means woman. So misogynist is a hater of woman. A xenophobe is a hater of other people, of strangers. But they use that in a way that it has to do with race. So for example, if you're, let's say you're black and you're uncomfortable with whites, that's xenophobia. So it has nothing to do with race. It's just that they have no clarity. People have no clarity in the argument. The interesting thing about it is they exclude a word that nobody uses, misandry. Misandry is hater of men. They don't use that because you can hate men. It's okay. Men can be hated. Or heterophobia. Heterophobia is people who hate straight people. It's okay. You can hate straight people. So you see, they put you in, they victimize people. They victimize them and they put them in a place so then they can manipulate. And then they can manipulate. So what happens then? You develop a language of caution. You're very careful with what you have to say. And here's where the language comes in. You notice when people say, no problem, no problem. They say things like, it's just to get you in before you say, that's another way of being cautious. And especially when they say to you things like, I went there and like I said to him, see, it's not like you didn't say it. It's like you said it to soften the blow of the possibility of offending somebody. So, because what happens then is that if you go against groupthink, then you're a bad person. And I'll tell you something that's happening. There's a pushback now. This is an internal revolution that's going on that I think you need to join. There's a group called the Intellectual Dark Web. And there you have liberals, conservatives, straights, gays, lesbians, everybody. And what brings them together is the fight against groupthink, the fight against the tyranny of political correctness. They say that you have to have the right to debate anything, whatever you want, and without being labeled and without giving the label of you're homophobic or racist or anything like that. People need to be able to discourse. And what happens is that in universities, you can't argue with your professors, especially if it has something to do. Let's say you want to argue about, you say your professor, this country is racist. And you say, no, it's not. We've had a black president, and you start giving evidence. You start giving evidence. No, you're a racist. And they shut you down. That's what the Nazis did. That's what the communists did. That's what any group that puts you into groupthink will do that. Unfortunately, they don't teach books like 1984 and Animal Farm, which actually talked about this. Or for example, somebody just brought something up that's pretty good. If you say something politically incorrect, immediately you're for Trump. It's like they group you, because what they do is they attack the messenger, not the message. And that in logical debate is called ad hominem argument, arguing against the individual, against what the individual has to say. So it's very important to see that. So what you want to do is you want to liberate yourself from all of that. You want to liberate yourself. It's okay to, if you want to go watch some women shaking their gluteus maximus, that's okay. Here, I'm going to shake your brain, and that's what I want to do. I want you to think and create this revolution of individualism. You know what they are? I'm going to make up the word. These people are haters of individualism. They're haters of the individualist. And in Greek, that would be a misatomist. Misa, hatred, atomist, individual, misatomist. So these are misatomists. The politically correct are misatomist. Just made up the word. So you can start using that word now. Misatomist is a hater of individualism, a hater of individual thinking, a hater of someone who wants to individuate. And here are the psychological consequences. This is very important. We have to individuate. We have to become what we are as an individual, learn what is it that we are. And you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to individuate. You're allowed to be groupthink. You're allowed to be a robotic wimp. Yes, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, yes, oh, I agree. Oh, that's bullshit. You have to fight for your individuality. Whatever it is, whether you're gay, you're straight, or whatever, fight for your individuality and don't go into groupthink. And don't be afraid of being labeled. Don't be afraid of being labeled. Because if you're labeled, you say, well, you're labeling me now. Let's argue this out. But they won't allow you. They won't allow you to do that. They'll give you a name, and that name then becomes, that's it. It stops. Because they're bankrupt with ideas. They don't have really good ideas. What they have is imposition on your thinking. How do you know if it's individual thinking? This is very good, especially if someone is regulating hateful ideas. That's the point. That if you don't learn how to individuate, you don't know who the hell you are. So, for example, how do you individuate? You ask yourself, intellectually honest. You have to be very intellectually honest. Okay, do I agree with this person? Can I argue with this person without the fear of being labeled? Do I disagree with this person? And gradually you begin to find who you are rather than who you were told to be in high school and in colleges and graduate school. It's very important. So individuation is what I'm teaching here. To teaching you to become an individual, to become someone who knows how to think, not who thinks what's out there that's politically correct. Whether it's right or left, this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with the groupthink that is invading your mind. This is not a conspiracy theory. This happened 40 years ago when people started coming into education and changing the educational system. So, and then professors became the social constructivists, and they teach this crap in school. You have to be an individual. So this is what we're talking about. Any questions? Go ahead. But I'm talking about the tyranny of political correctness, creating robotic wimps. Robotic wimps. Oh, I'm so concerned. I don't want to upset your feelings. Fuck that. If you upset somebody's feelings, you deal with it. People are not little wimps. They're strong. You can argue with people. You can argue with people without having to offend them, without having to give them the labels. Allow people to express themselves. If somebody's a racist, okay, tell me what makes you a racist. Try to let people to argue their points. Well, I think that, let's say, for example, I think that one particular race is inferior to the other. Oh, really? Show me the evidence. And what you're doing is you're getting people to own up their bullshit, to argue it in a way that's understandable, and then finally you begin to see that it begins to crumble because it has no basis. There's no basis for racism. There's no such thing as one race being better than the other. There's no basis for homophobia because that's a belief system, that's a sexual preference that a person has or a gender identity. Nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is if it's in your face. If I'm a heterosexual and say, hey, I'm a heterosexual, you better like it. No, hell with that. You have to be who you are privately and in tune with yourself and secure with yourself so you don't have to put it in somebody else's face. Okay, any questions? This is a really beautiful question about I find that groupthink is prevalent in religion. Yes, in some religions, that's right, it is. Because let me tell you, you brought this up, and I'm going to brought something for me to think about that I would have forgotten. Back in the medieval times and before that, religion in the Europe was not Europe; it's called Christendom. It didn't have a name, and those were the Christian countries. And you have the Muslims and you had the Christians, and in those countries, you had the Inquisition. In Germany, France, Spain, Italy, the Inquisition. And if you spoke anything against what was not acceptable, not even religion, what was not acceptable anywhere, like for example, is it possible that the earth is not the center of the universe? That's it. That's heresy. Now heresy, the new Inquisition is the political correctness, and they don't say heresy in it or heretic. They say now homophobic, racist, misogynist. You see, it's the same thing. Galileo, who basically had the audacity to say that the earth is not the center of the universe, he had telescopes that were better than telescopes 100 years before, and he was able to see that the heavenly bodies move in a way that the earth cannot be the center. He said that, and he was, again, political correctness. In those days, is the heresy. He was house arrested. He was not allowed to express his ideas, and only posthumously, after he died, they were able to publish it. And now we know that the earth not only is not the center of the universe, it just goes around one of the galaxies, and there are millions of galaxies, and it goes around the sun. So this is what you need to think about. It hasn't changed. The Inquisition is alive and well, and it's called political correctness, creating wimps, robotic wimps. Can you talk about politicizing systems to override science and biology? What's happening here is that There are two areas that are causing these problems. One is postmodernism. The postmodernists say, look, there really hasn't been a lot of progress here. Everything is relative. There are no universal truths. The science is relative. There's really nothing here that you can hold. There's no moral compass. That's how it is. It's just there's no universal morals. Nothing. It's just how it is. And then social constructivism does a dance that says everything is socially constructed. Biology means nothing. Biology doesn't mean anything. Everything is socially constructed. So then everything is socially constructed. The biology doesn't matter. The gender doesn't matter. Morals don't matter. So, hey, I do my thing, and if you like it, fine. And if you don't, then I'm going to call you a racist or homophobic or whatever. See how it is? It's a manipulation. So what happens is that they politicize you also. If you say something that appears that they think that is ignorant, they'll say that you're for Trump. Or if you say something that is too liberal, they'll say, "Oh, you're for the left." So it's not political. It's not race. It's a manipulation of a small group of people who want to control how you think and want to tell you how to think. And that is the political correctness, which is it's humongous bullshit. And you have to fight it. Because if you don't, you begin to lose who you are. You begin to use the language of approximation. No problem. No, you got to be direct. Like I went over and I talked to him. No, I talked to him. It's not like no problem. Thank you very much. You see, you assert yourself. You assert yourself. They would assume I support Bernie Sanders. It would be true, though. Well, you can support whoever you want. You just have to defend why you support Bernie Sanders, whoever. And then the argument itself, an argument doesn't mean something bad. Argument means an exchange of ideas, discerning. So if you like Bernie Sanders, fine. Okay, what is it that you like about him? What is it that, and then I could tell you what I don't like about him. And then we get to a point, we're not insulting each other. What we're doing is we're conversing, we're debating, but with mutual respect for each other. That doesn't happen anymore. Have you noticed that? It doesn't happen anymore. You can't say anything anymore without being labeled. And I think that's what we have to push back. So, the tyranny of political correctness is a topic, and the making of robotic wimps. Robotic wimps. Another thing that they do is relativism. You say something bad or good about somebody else. Well, yeah, but look, the other person is this. No, stay with the subject. Go deep with the subject and don't tell me something else. Hitler was bad. Yeah, but so was Mussolini. No, stay with Hitler. You see, relativism. Relativism takes you out of the argument because they don't know how to argue. They know how to pontificate, how to tell you how to think, but they don't know how to argue. Well, this is a question that has to do with psychology here, and I don't know your story, so I can't really tell you. How long should I stay in a sexless marriage? I'm living in this situation right now. Well, you maybe the first thing to do is to get some marital therapy, and if it doesn't work, and your partner doesn't want to live with sexuality, which is an important part of the relationship, not the most important, but it's an important part, then you make decisions based on your individuality, you see? Not on what you're told what to do, but your individuality. Individuality has to do with being honest with yourself. Honest with yourself. Intellectual honesty is very important. Intellectual honesty. 1 year of counseling, if that doesn't help, they either have bad counseling or the subject goes beyond counseling. But I'm only giving you generalities. I can't do therapy because I don't know you. So anyway, so if you talk about things that are unrelated to what I'm talking about here, it's just not going to work because we want people who are intelligent and focused. Another thing that happens, you notice how media, including social media, makes it very difficult for you to get into yourself. I do power walks in the forest, and every day I have people there in their bicycles or walking with their iPhones, listening to some music, or their any kind of media. out there so they couldn't get in touch with the forest, get in touch with themselves. When I go to the forest, I want to find out who the hell I am and look around and reflect, introspect. We don't do that anymore. You ask people, so how do you feel right now? Oh, I think I'm going to go for a walk. That's a thought. That's not a feeling. How do you feel right now? Oh, I don't know. Because you don't go in, you don't introspect enough. And they love that. They love that. Emotionally intelligent people are hard to come by. Yeah, but they can be. You can teach that. You can teach it when you forget everything you learned in college, as far as how to the way to think, and begin to ask yourself, let me question the things that I was taught in college. Is it really this way? Let me question, because questioning is what science is all about. How best can one get something off their minds? Like you think about the same thing over and over again. Well, I have a video on that. It's about thought pollution. Look up the video and you'll see. It's very easy if you have the right tools. So I'm glad you asked that. Go to the video here on my House Shrink. And I have a video on that. And I have an extended video also on my social media on YouTube. I have videos that are longer that I do here, like now. This one will be on tomorrow. And you'll be able to see the complete video on my social media channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. I have over 500,000 people that have gone there already. So it's very popular and it's all free. So that's how you deal with it. Okay, the subject, the tyranny of political correctness, groupthink. And the mind is so powerful. They can go for you or against you. And the making of robotic wimps. You notice anytime you say something, what do you think about the Kardashian family? Well, they're unique. Let me say that. What's the best advice you can give? About what? You see? That's too global. So about what? About the weather? About psychology? So be specific. Be specific. That's the way you get out of groupthink. What do you need? What do you want specifically? And when somebody says something to you and they label you, stop and make them own up and say, let's say they call you a homophobic. Okay, what's making me homophobic? Oh, because you said this and this. Okay, let's look at that. Can we look at that without a label? Is it possible? If you call me a homophobic, I could call you an asshole. Would that go anywhere? No, because I'm not a homophobic and you're not an asshole. So let's kind of learn from each other. What's the strongest lesson you've ever learned? That you have to be compassionate, but you have to be courageous. That's the lesson. Can we talk about how media contributes to groupthink? Oh, absolutely. We have a really intelligent group of people here. Very intelligent group of people. Media contributes because media wants you to have groupthink. Media wants you to believe what they tell you. Now, journalism is dead. It's not journalism anymore. It's programming and manipulating. People are not interested in finding really what's going on behind a candidate. Whether they like the candidate or they don't. They vilify them or they glorify them. That's it. So the media has failed you. The media has failed you. Both sides, not just one or the other. Why do I constantly remember every bad thing that happened to me in the past? Okay, great question. The brain gives priority to anything that could be dangerous because of survival. Anything that's negative, it begins to see it as something that possibility for danger. So it tends to keep things that are negative up front, and things that are positive, it's okay, but the up front is the one that you keep because of survival mode. And again, I ask you to go to my video on thought cleansing and thought pollution, and you'll see how to get rid of it. But that's why it happens. You're awesome. I could listen to you all day. Thank you very much. That's very thoughtful. You notice I didn't say, no problem, or anybody can do it. No. Intellectual courage says, thank you very much, which means that you have the courage to be grateful, and you have the courage to own up what somebody said to you. Oh, no, anybody can do this. No, not anybody can do this. You have to be fucking good to do this. And so are you. You have to be also very good to listen to these things. Owning up, intellectual honesty and individualism is the key to the tyranny of political correctness and to the robotic wimps. About the 220 election, I'm not going to 2020 election. I'm not going to talk about that because that's political, and this is not the place for it. There's another place for it, but not here. How come Samantha's asking? How can people become better political leaders and change how systems are now? Well, either right or left. You want to be able to look at what is going on in the world, in your world, in your city, whatever. What is going on that is inequitable, but not racism or those things. Those things are happening, but what's happening is, are people having access to resources to overcome their challenges? That's what's so important. Are people able to express themselves without being politically ostracized? Working with the individuals and not giving them the political crap that you hear. Politicians want to keep you dumb, and they want to keep you victimized. Because you're a victim, you have to depend on government. If you're not a victim and you're an individual, you don't need government. So you see? Okay, what are the questions? How to train your mind to think positive. You don't want to think positive. You want to think creative. Not everything is positive. That would be Pollyanna. Oh, I just hurt my leg. Well, it'll be good for me. No, you want to learn to be curious and look at novelty of what's happening. And then that'll teach you positivism. Positivism comes from creativity, not from being positive. So it's very important. There are good things and bad things, but what is the wisdom that I can extract from things? Not good or bad, the wisdom. And then you become curious. Yes, and assume they're not able to think on their own. That's right. The media thinks you're stupid. Politicians think you're stupid. And then they sell you whatever they want. And they tell you everything's going to be okay. What they do is they look for something that's missing. Let's say they go to a city and crime is really bad. We're going to take care of crime. Law and order is going to come in, and they've been in politics for years and years and haven't done a damn thing. Well, that's politicizing things. Or racism is a problem. Well, we're going to deal with race. Whatever is the problem, they take it and they manipulate you so that you will elect them. Then when they're elected, forget it. You don't exist anymore. You're a pawn. What if I own up to a mistake, apologize, but don't don't feel forgiven? You don't get forgiven for apologizing, and you don't need forgiveness. What you need is to own up. And if somebody doesn't forgive you, that's their problem. Hey, I made a mistake. This is a mistake that I made, and I apologize for it. Well, I'm not going to forgive you. All right, that's your problem. I have forgiven myself. That's how you deal with it. Don't forget to follow my page, my channel here, because that's how I can get expanded, get more people here, and I can reach out to you more. I can do longer videos, and I'm given a lot of opportunities to do things. So follow and share if you've already followed. And then tomorrow or today, you can go to YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez, and follow there too. And you have close to 200 videos that you can watch. How do you make sure you question yourself and if you're wrapped up in groupthink? Well, again, you have to practice. You have to practice because individualism is a practice. Somebody says something to you and you question it. You say, okay, this is what's good for society. Why? Under what conditions? This is what's good for me. Why? Under what conditions? And then you begin to question, you begin to discern. And then there's a part of you that's a very deep, some people call it insight, some people call it personal truth, whatever it is. There's a part of you that when you practice being intellectually honest, it'll tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. We have ethics within, and we're taught, see, social constructivism says, no, it's all right, everything's it's social, do your thing, it's all right. Postmodernism, there's no real truth out there. There's no real good and right. You do whatever you want. So it's very important to understand that there is right and wrong, and there is a moral compass, and there is an individual. It's very important. I have a webinar on addictions that they're not an illness, and I'm not going to argue that now. I have a webinar that I give scientific evidence about it. So, but I'm glad you brought that up because people are asking about that. So how do you know when you're happy, are always up and down? Under what conditions are you up? Under what conditions are you down? And find out what brings you up, what brings you down, and who are the co-authors of the bringing up and bringing down. Is it an internal thing that triggered you going up or down, or is it an external thing? When you're dealing with, for example, with people with having problems with food, You ask him, okay, what is a cue? You thought about a McDonald's, or you saw a sign that says McDonald's? So internal, external cues, you have to find out what you're doing. Those are just simple kinds of things. Check out the Mind-Body Code. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I have 2 best-selling books, The Mind-Body Code, The Mind-Body Self. They're on my page here on my channel. You'll see the names. You'll see the link to my website, but also you can get them on Amazon, which is the cheapest. We have many, many people today, and incredibly intelligent people. Really, really, I'm very impressed with the questions you're asking and how intelligent you are. Individuation is one of the causes of health. Groupthink is not healthy. Groupthink does not lead to wellness because you don't find out who you are. You find out what the group needs, not what you need. What's the key to sales? I have an empowerment code training that I do that I teach about how to organizational science, so join that and you will become an expert. Mindfulness seems to be lacking in raising children these days. You're absolutely right. Yes. You want to be your parents are wanting to be friends rather than parents. Children don't need friends. They need parents to love them and to treat them well, but a parent archetype, not a friend. A friend is a friend. And when you're a parent, you're a parent. Archetypes get confused with groupthink. Anything is okay. Anything's okay. No, everything's not okay. There's some things that are good and there's some things that are bad. And that personal ethics that you develop actually works well with your immune system. Your immune system responds to internal ethics. And if you have no ethics, it's just all over the place. It's very important. Psychoneuroimmunology, that's the area that I work in. Cultural psychoneuroimmunology. So it's very important. Why is it that for even a criminal, you put a criminal on the polygraph, and in many cases you can tell when they're lying or not. Sociopaths, they can't because sociopaths have no ethics. A sociopath that, no, I didn't kill that person, the polygraph will show that he's telling the truth because in his mind or her mind, they're so distorted that they have no ethics, they have no sense of reality. If I apologize, again, that question, if I apologize via text, since they won't talk to me, the question is, what is so important for them to give you redemption? If you did something wrong, you're imperfect, like me. I don't know any perfect people. You text, you do whatever you've done, and you let it go. Because there's some people that want to keep you tied to guilt so they can manipulate you. I did something wrong. You don't want to talk to me? Okay, this is my apology. You want to talk to me? I'm sorry for what I did. I apologize, period. And then let it go. Let it go. Otherwise, you get hooked on guilt. So very important. That's what you do. But you see how I'm showing you here directness, right and wrong, no bullshit, being clear. That's individuation. That's what individuation is all about. So it's very important. So you just join me. Here I am. Rather than shaking my gluteus maximus, I'm shaking your brain, which is what matters here. And this is House Shrink. Go ahead and follow my work. And follow my work at my YouTube channel so you can have all kinds of videos. And it's Dr. Mario Martinez. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'm not giving therapy here. I'm giving wisdom. Wisdom. And you are the students of the pushback revolution. This is the pushback revolution. So the word that I have for the political correctness, they're always talking about misogynist, miss this, miss that. Misa means hatred in Greek. And atomist, atom means individual. So they are misatomist, haters of the individual. So if you get any groupthink bullshit, you say, hey, you're a misatomist. What does that mean? That you're a hater of individualism. Okay. Hey, hi from Indianapolis. Very nice. Very nice. Anybody here from out of the country? Make sure that you include it in there. So I am House Shrink, giving you straightforward information here so you can individuate and so you can push back and push back to the misatomist. The misatomist, haters of individualism. And why do they do that? Look at the false logic that they use. Oh, from Canada. Sarah from Canada, welcome. They tell you that the individualist is from California, that the individual is selfish, self-serving, that they don't care about other people. That is a false argument. Individualism doesn't mean that you're egotistical or self-serving. It means that you find out who the hell you are before you do anything out there. That's what it's all about. who you are so you don't get lost in the crowd. It's nothing to do with that. But they give it labels, and then you say, okay, I don't want to be an individualist because I don't want to be self-serving. I love people. False arguments. Hi from Kansas. What do you think psychologically causes people to do bad things to strangers? Mass shooting. These are people who are, in many cases, are psychotic, who are delusional. If, let's say, for example, you have two kinds of people. That's a great question. Two kinds of people. You can't psychologize everything. There's evil in the world. There are bad people in the world. And there are people who are sick. A psychotic who has paranoid ideation and thinks that somebody's going to go out to get them and that their boss is going to go out to get them and the demon makes them do it. They go and they shoot. Well, they're out of touch with reality. But there are people, and not necessarily because they had bad upbringing, they're just basically evil people. They enjoy, I've worked with people like that. I worked in the prison system in a maximum security facility, psychiatric, for 3 years. And there were people who were just evil. One person, and listen to this because it's really very important. He was in maximum security. He had killed, he was what you call someone who kills for money. These are contract killers. They're the worst. They're animals. So this person is serving 200 years, which is, So in order to be humanistic with him, they had to take him out to the yard so he could walk and get some sun. Okay. Do I mean psychopaths? No, it's different. They're called sociopaths now, but I'll explain it in a minute. Okay, so this person goes out and they take the handcuffs off, and he was a karate expert, and he killed the guard. He killed the guard with 3 children. Why did he kill the guard? Because he was given a carton of cigarettes. For a carton of cigarettes, he killed a guard. That's as far as that person goes. That person is an animal and needs to be put to death. Why? I used to be against death penalty completely. Now I believe that 1% of the people needs to be put away. Why? Because they keep killing. They killed a guard who had 3 kids. So you go for innocence or you go for evil. But there are people, a sociopath, for example, they used to be called psychopaths. A sociopath is someone who doesn't have an ethical system, who manipulates people, who has little or no compassion. And those people are very difficult. They have a really poor prognosis. How is he not a sociopath? Do you believe he has? Who are you talking about? Who's a sociopath? The killer? He was a sociopath. Yeah, of course. But a sociopath, it's evil. You can call it sociopath, you can call it evil, but it's evil. That person, not every sociopath is a criminal. So you have to differentiate. But is it that they are evil or their brain is damaged in a sense that they lack remorse? Whatever it is, you can always justify it. But there's evil and you need to be accountable for it. Let me give you an example. During the Nuremberg trials, when they were trying all the criminals of war in the Hitler, the SS, and people like that, they did psychological testing to all these people. They all came out normal. The Rorschach was normal. The MMPI was normal. They were just following orders. That's evil. So you can't psychologize everything. Another thing that, and I know you're not doing this, but another thing that political correctness does is they excuse everything. Oh, he had a bad upbringing. So he killed 10 people. Well, he had bad upbringing. You can't do anything about it. We don't have free will. That's another thing about tyranny. We don't have free will. So if you kill somebody, it really wasn't your fault. That's profound bullshit. That's not science. I only believe in the death penalty because I don't believe because of the cases of wrongful execution. So what would you do then? Let's see, we're going to argue now with respect. What would you do in cases like this, where this man killed the guard after he had been given 200 years of sentence? Should he continue to stay alive so he can kill another guard? What do you think needs to happen with a person like that? Do they need to allow to, so at the expense of innocence, does that person need to be allowed to stay alive? They're animals. There's an animal. This guy killed a man who had 3 children, who was a devoted husband and a good person, only for a carton of cigarettes. You want him to kill more innocent? You have to protect innocents, not criminals. And you have to be very careful. That's why I said only 1%, because there are a lot of wrongful executions. I agree. But someone like that, what's wrongful about this guy? It's very important. Crimes against children, yeah, crimes against children are very bad, and they need to be put away. They need to be protected. Death to people that are that much threat to society, including, because society, remember, our correctional officers are society too. They're not animals. They're people that are working there to protect you from these people. So that's also important. Okay, so any other questions? What I'm doing now that you just joined me, the first thing to do is, if you haven't joined me, or if you haven't followed me, hit the follow button. And then go to my YouTube channel so you can watch all these videos in their entirety. And it's Dr. Mario Martinez. You can buy my books, The Mind-Body Code, The Mind-Body Self. Drop them in a war zone, the enemy's gates. Well, that's a good idea. For people like that, that's a really good idea. But see, political correctness does not allow you to say that, because it says that you're racist. If it happens to be a black person, it says that you're racist. If it happens to be someone who's Asian, you're racist. Or if it happens to be someone else, they say you're insensitive because this person came from a bad place. They don't go to the argument. They rationalize and they relativize everything. Scientifically, do you believe in spirit guides? No, I don't, but I believe in internal guides, that you have your own guidance and also picking up on information. But some people believe it, and that's good. You can believe that, and if it works for you, beautiful. But I think you have a lot of internal guidance within you that can help you as if they were guides. How do you get to your videos? Okay, you go to here. You get the short videos on How Shrink, right where you are now. And then for the longer videos, you go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez. That's it, Dr. Mario Martinez. Over 500,000 people have visited, and it's very, very, very huge. Are you familiar with Dr. Dispenza's work? Yes, I am. And he has copied some of my ideas, so I'm not too happy with him. But I'm very familiar with him. All right, let's see. Then a rehabilitation phase, and some people truly don't care. Will always harm others. Yeah. Rehabilitation is for people that want change, not for people who are going there so they can get out and do it again. Let me give you an example. I'm giving you science here, so pay attention. Very important. An experiment was done. This is another politically correct social experiment on biology and on science. They said, okay, so what we're going to do now is the people that raped you, they got a bunch of women that have been raped, and said, you're going to go to the prison system and you're going to have them apologize to you, and they're going to be okay. That's going to be rehabilitation for them. Look at the stupidity of that. Talking to a sociopath. So the women would go there, and they would say, you raped me, or you ruined my life, and da-da-da-da. And they cry. And then the sociopath, I'm so sorry. This is terrible. I'll never do this again. They consider, as naive as that is, they consider that to be a positive experiment. What was happening, though, two things. Women, a few weeks after they did that, they were having anxiety attacks, and they were having all kinds of feelings because they weren't forgiving anything. This is it's an animal who raped you. But this is when they stopped the study, which is really good. A sociopath who at least was honest, which is an oxymoron. But anyway, so one of the women goes up to the rapist, and this is in prison, okay, and with guards and everything, and she says, you hurt me, and da-da-da, and all the kinds of things. And then she says to him, do you have anything to say about what you did? And he said, yes, I wish that I were out so I can rape you again. How do you like that for compassion? She got extremely upset and, of course, understood that there was bullshit. That's not a real... I'm a psychologist not working. The only time I get to work is on family and friends. Okay, well, you're doing some good. That's all right. So read my books. I think you'll find them very helpful if you're a psychologist. On the latest on mind-body science and psychoneuroimmunology and how to individuate. So if you just join me, this is a pushback on political correctness, which is the teaching of robotic wimps. Charles Manson, did Charles Manson deserve the electric chair? I think so. He split open the stomach of a woman who was pregnant. Yeah, or he guided people to. Yeah, he should have been executed. He died, fortunately, already, so not too long ago. So anyway, you think I'm harsh? No. I protect innocence against crime. Innocence against crime. I have been there. I have worked with criminals, with serial killers, so I've been there. And although I left with more compassion, but more compassion for the innocent and more compassion for the people who don't need to be in prison. There are people that didn't need to be in prison. And by the way, I wrote letters and I helped people to get out who didn't need to be there. Like retarded people, like they didn't need to be there. So it's very important. Your opinion on abortion from a medical standpoint, okay, I'm going to give you an opinion. The late-term abortion, I think, is murder. Late-term abortion, because there's a live human being there, and you have to kill him. But that's an ethical question to me. But I'm not going to go further than that, and we can discuss it some other time. But let's stay with this. Who was a product of the system? Hey, Mark, you really believe that Manson was a product of the system? Really? Why is it that people that come from terrible, terrible environments don't go out and kill like Manson did? If you think he was a product of the system, you have bought into the bullshit of political correctness completely. He was not a product of the system. The system gives you opportunities to be good or bad, but you have free will. But you see, in political correctness, there's no free will. You don't have a choice. If you come from a bad place, you don't have a choice. Osama bin Laden, who killed by his doing several thousand people, came from an ideal environment. Good parents, healthy, good education, everything. He chose to kill. Don't buy that shit. Do not buy that. People need to take responsibility for their actions. But in political correctness, since there's no free will, you're not responsible. You're not responsible. And that is very dangerous for society. You have to be responsible for your actions. There are many people that come from terrible environments. I have worked with centenarians, people who are over 100 years old, who were in concentration camps, and women that were raped in concentration camps, and they continue to be good individuals because they chose to take their agency, which is your action that you own, and they chose to be good people. But if you don't have agency, if you don't have goodwill, or if you don't have will, hey, blame it on the system. So please think that over again. Don't blame it on the system. Blame it on the individual. Okay, you're into the apology. I even apologize for things that didn't happen. What is her problem? It's not her problem. It's your problem. You need to stop. You need to stop. You apologize once and you let it go, because there are people that want to entice you into controlling you by guilt. You apologize once. You're done. If you're not, you go into reruns and your power will be taken away from you. Okay? So it's very important you see that. Okay, intelligent questions, please. All questions are intelligent if they're on the subject. If you go and Neverland, then I'm not going to be able to answer them for you. If you just join me, this is about political correctness, how shrink. Follow my work. Go to YouTube tomorrow or today. This will be on tomorrow. And my name there is Dr. Mario Martinez, which is my real name. And then you'll be able to see all these things. There's free will. There's no question there's free will. But even some biologists tell you that there's no free will. There is free will. And you have to decide whether you want to believe it or not. Sometimes people hold a grudge for a long time. That's their problem, not yours. If somebody doesn't want to be with you and they toxify you, why do you want to be with them? Go to my video on self-esteem so you can see why you're continuing to do this. I have a video on self-esteem, a short one here on how shrink, and a long one on YouTube, Dr. Mario Martinez. So it's there. So we have a huge group of people here today, and it's wonderful because 99% has been really on task and intelligent. We've had the clowns, and they come in and go. The clowns are great for political correctness because they distract you from serious conversations. But anyway, if you are a clown and you want to be a rehabilitated clown, welcome. Ask intelligent questions and you'll no longer be a clown. There's somebody here who's following my work now. He said he was an emotional vampire because I talked about emotional vampires. They drain your energy. And he started reading my books and he said, hey, look, I don't think I'm an emotional vampire. It's very nice. So people can change. That's the beauty of it. People can change, but not the evil people, because the evil people are committed to doing harm, hurting you. It's power and control and joy from seeing you suffer. The hell is that? Why would you want somebody like that around? How do you stop being yourself, seeing yourself as less? Too much self-loathing. Again, read my books, go to the videos. A lot of information there. A lot of information. How do we learn to disagree without hate? How did this get to this point? By political correctness. Political correctness attacks the messenger, not the message. It attacks the messenger, puts down the messenger so you can't argue. And the way that you do it is inviting people to argue on the message, not the messenger. If they keep arguing on the message, it's okay. No, you're arguing about me now. Let's argue about the point and bring them back. They can't handle being brought back to the point because they go all over the place because they can't argue. They weren't taught how to argue. They were taught how to follow bullshit. So they don't know how to argue. They don't know how to discern. They don't have logic. Oh, good morning from Wisconsin. Hi, Wisconsin. It's good to see you here. So thank you. I said I'm done apologizing. I'm okay. Good. No more apologies. You only apologize once. If they want more than that, what they want to do is they want to beat you up. So you don't want to do that. We need political correctness to protect POC from racism. No, you don't need political correctness for anything. Racism needs to be argued out. It needs to be dealt with without political correctness is imposing a system on you, not allowing you to discern. If somebody is a member of the KKK, you don't call him a racist. You say, okay, tell me the value of being a member of the KKK. And you get them to own their shit and to own their irrationality. But if you say, hey, you're a racist, that's not arguing. That's labeling people. That's like what I talked about earlier. You can argue with racism. Yes, you can. I've argued with people who are racist. Yes, I have. But you have to argue with the first premise. You have to respect each other first. Let's respect each other and let's argue our points. Let's not argue our personalities. That's how it works. How does controlling someone's public word protecting people? It doesn't protect people at all. It's a manipulation. It's a manipulation. You don't protect people with word. Look, racism and homophobia doesn't go away by not talking about it. It just goes underground. It has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. Let's say that you are a homophobic and someone is gay. And you say to that person, oh, well, look, you're gay and you shouldn't be gay because God or whatever. No, wait a minute. I'm gay. The person will say, I'm a good person. This is what I do with my life. I'm a responsible person. What do you think about that? Then if you're dealing with an asshole, it doesn't matter, you're gay. You can't argue because they're arguing with the messenger, not the message. But if that person shows you that whether black or white or green or red or heterosexual or whatever, if they're a good person, that's what matters. They're responsible, they're ethical, they contribute to society. That's what matters. Not the messenger, but the message, who you are. How can we educate people to discern propaganda better? By thinking for yourself. If they tell you, this is bad, this is good. Why? Give me evidence. And give me counter evidence why it's not that way. I'll give you counter evidence and you argue. See, another thing that political correctness does is says arguing is bad. Arguing is aggressive. An argument or a discourse is not aggressive. It can be aggressive or not. Arguing with respect is what allows people to grow. That's how science grows. When they said before, for example, 50 years ago, your blood pressure was 100 plus your age. So if you're 100 years old, it's 200. It's crazy. So it was argued out, and it was with evidence, and came to agreements, and now blood pressure is different. Many things in science, even in theology, you argue things in theology, and the position, if you believe that that God exists. All right, let's talk about it. God doesn't exist. Okay, let's talk about it. They're atheists who are very compassionate. They're religious people who are very evil. So it has nothing to do with that, because remember, it's the messenger, not the message. And political correctness is all about the messenger. They kill your expression because they go with the killing of the messenger, ad hominem arguments. So if you just join me here, I am House Shrink, talking about pushback on political correctness and the teaching of robotic wimps. You have to have a backbone. You have to say things with a backbone. Exactly, she said, I don't accept my girlfriend. I said, no, I don't talk to her because she's a narc. Okay, yeah, but now, you're not trying to... atheists who choose to be moral without the fear of God, and I love them about being atheists. I believe there's intelligent design. I don't know what to call it, but I don't do it out of fear. You can't love God out of fear if you love God, and you can't be an atheist out of hatred for God. You're an atheist because you choose to be an atheist, and you could be a good atheist, or you're religious because you choose to be religious and you be a good person. Again, you see how it goes? Not with the label of religion. That's messenger. Message is what matters. Okay, so how can we even begin to discuss issues when we cannot first agree on reality and truth? Well, great point. Go to what you can agree on, and you create a foundation to what you can agree on. A foundation of what you can agree on. A foundation. What is innocence? For example, is sexually assaulting a child, is that good or bad? That's bad. Okay, we have an agreement. Now, if you say to somebody, a sexual aggression against a child, is that good or bad? And they said, it's neither good nor bad. Don't talk, because that person doesn't have a moral compass. Now, you can't argue with everybody. If people don't have the arguing, that's why in school they used to teach logic and ethics and discourse and debate and all that, so you could understand the rules. But if you don't have any rules, how the hell can you argue? No rules, no argument. So what you want to do is you want to learn first what the rules are, what the message is, how you want to defend your message, but also, here's another thing that's very important. You want to learn something from that other person. If you're there just to argue, there's no learning. You can say, okay, I am here to argue with you, to discern and discourse with you, and let's see if we can learn something from each other. If at the end of the presentation, both of you learn something from each other, it was a good argument. Because you're not trying to defend your point, you're trying to learn and see how strong your point can be. All right? So, House Shrink, talking about political correctness and how it teaches robotic wimps. Follow my work here. If you've already followed it, share my work, let people know about it, and then go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez, and I have close to 200 videos there for free. The internet has destroyed logic. It has really hurt logic deeply. But I'm here to try to work on that. I'm not the only one. There are many people like me who are doing this, who are trying to bring back logic. And you take things to a logical conclusion. Here's about logic, a really short lesson on logic. You take things to the logical conclusion. Okay, so if someone says to you, okay, what's happening here is that white men are bad and everybody is good. And we have to attack the white men because they're bad. All right? So how do you take that to its logical conclusion? How do you find white men who are good? You say, okay, tell me, argue that the logical conclusion. All are bad, you tell me. This person is good. There's a good person here, and he's white. Tell me how that works. And logical conclusion is that it has to be consistent at every point. If you say tall people are stupid, okay, or short people are stupid, it doesn't matter. What you do is you take it to its logical conclusion. You say tall people are intelligent. Okay, what about Einstein? Einstein was 5'4". Oh, he's an exception. Well, what about Mahatma Gandhi? And you go on and on and on. And then if the person has any intelligence, they'll say, well, maybe there are some intelligent short people. Logical conclusion is what holds the argument together. If you can't logically conclude, forget it. So tall people have higher IQ. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. Einstein was short, and there are many, many others. It depends on the cultural upbringing. It depends on the diets, and it depends on the genetic expression. But it's not tall people are that you have to look at the cultures. The cultures that tall people are you have to look at the normal curve across the world, not just here or somewhere else. Otherwise, it's just cherry picking. What is the goal? To learn. Some people think the goal is to get people to agree with them. No, you can't get people to agree and be happy at the same time. The goal is to be true to yourself and to live what Aristotle called the eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is pleasure with service, with meaning, and with joy. That's what it's all about. And immunologically, there's some studies now that have come out that show that people who live more of the eudaimonia, the hedonic is the pleasure for the sake of pleasure, the eudaimonia have better immunological response to adversity than people who are just hedonic or just for the pleasure of just pleasure. So service and purpose is very important. Service, purpose, and meaning is very important. And that brings joy. I am 5'3" and have an IQ and EQ, but I think EQ is more important. It depends on the condition. It depends. Everything is contextual in a sense. Sometimes a person can have 150 IQ and could be an idiot in social conditions. So emotional quotient and so forth. So you want to be a balanced individual. You want to be the Aristotle also talked about the mean, the Aristotelian mean. Not extremes, but in the middle. You know, I met the guy who coined emotional intelligence. Great. Yeah, this is really very good. It's a good introduction to science, but you can't go on emotional intelligence alone or IQ alone. It's a combination of the individual. Again, you see how I'm going to the individual? The other one is a label. I'm going to the individual. You could have a very high IQ and you could be a terrible person. You could have a lower IQ and be a wonderful person and contribute to society and so forth. EQ, emotional quotient. It's the emotional intelligence. Like IQ is intelligence quotient. All right, those who just joined me, House Shrink. We have a huge amount of people here, which is wonderful. And it's really great. So what I want you to do is just to follow my work, to go click follow, share it, and then go to YouTube channel to Dr. Mario Martinez. And there you have close to 200 videos on all kinds of the information that I talked about here, free. Some are over an hour, some are shorter. So you have a lot of information available to you, free. My gift to you, the gift that I want from you is to follow my work so I can expand the audience and reach more people. I'm very happy you're here. Thank you. So am I. We have a good group of people. And you notice that as I'm getting people to individuate, the people to individuate are the ones who ask the good questions. And he's the biggest liberal. Who's the biggest liberal? Explain to me who's the biggest liberal. Does generalizing and categorizing people help with reductionism? Well, I'm not sure. Tell me what you mean by that more specifically. Lisa, what's your question? Dr. Martinez, what's your question? And I'll try to answer it if I can. But meanwhile, if you just joined, the tyranny of political correctness and how it creates robotic wimps, people that go with groupthink and you don't question, you're afraid to upset other people, and you're afraid to consensus, everything's consensus, everybody's got to be happy. Okay, a lot of people joining. Just verifying your name. Yes, that's right. In YouTube, it's going to be Dr. Mario Martinez. YouTube. Here is House Shrink. Follow both because there's a lot of information. I put a lot of time into this to try to make something about it. Reductionism in science, what it does is it goes from the most complex to the simplest. So to look at an illness, they go to the organ, to the tissue, to the molecule, to the atom, and that's necessary but not sufficient. You need more than that. Reductionism doesn't really explain everything. You have to have both upward and downward. What's upward and downward causality. People with bad ideas cry political correctness when they're called out. That's right, yeah. Political correctness is a protection. You say something bad, and especially if it begins to make sense, or if it's bad, either way. Oh, no, you're being politically incorrect here. You're a racist or you're a xenophobe. And those of you who just joined me, I have a word for political correctness. They're misotomist, which means haters of the individual. I just made up the word. Misa in Greek means hatred. Atomist or atom is individual. Misatomist or misotomist. I don't know how we want to pronounce it. I think we're going to pronounce it misotomist. But it's our word, so we can do whatever we want with it. Thank you for your work. It's truly important. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for participating. Okay, I'm getting ready to go to lunch to my favorite Kurdish restaurant here in Nashville, House of Kebabs. If you ever come to Nashville, you got to go to the House of Kebabs. So I'm going to be finishing up, but I want to thank everybody here. And the topic was political correctness, the tyranny of political correctness. So start pushing back, create the individualist revolution. And being an individual is not being selfish. So from sociopath to sociopathic society, as in capital punishment, you gotta unwind that for me, because it's not clear enough. See, instead of responding to you, I'm asking you to clear it, so I can then tell you what I think about it. That's too general. Tell me specifically what you mean. So a sociopath, as in capital punishment? No, not all sociopaths need to be, if that's what your question is, capital punishment. Only the people, like, for example, the contract killers and people like that, they're very dangerous. As I mentioned earlier, that this person killed a guard for a carton of cigarettes. Why would you want to have someone around like that to kill more innocent people? When you have a choice between criminality and innocence, always protect innocence. I'll tell you something from this idiot that I talked to one day. He's an idiot, because I don't know if you'll agree, but I think he's an idiot. I was, again, taking it to logical conclusion. This guy said that there was no time for violence, there was no time to fight back, no time for anything. Okay, that sounds really good. That's kind of cute, utopian kind of bullshit. I said, okay, let's take it to its logical conclusion. You are with your daughter, who is 9 years old, and this guy comes out of an alley and he's going to rape your daughter. What do? Do you use protection? You say, no, I would try to talk him out of it. Talking out of a rapist with a knife? I can't answer that question. You see, it's cowardness. That's where you create the robotic wimps. No. If you're protecting your daughter from a rapist, you beat the shit out of the rapist and you protect your daughter. That is what you do with courage, and you come out of being a robotic wimp. Very important. So, you use a necessary amount of force. Absolutely. You don't have to kill the person, but you use the force that you need to protect innocence. Remember, you're protecting innocence. Your daughter doesn't need to be raped because you choose not to use violence. Even the Dalai Lama, who's a saintly kind of individual, he said that force against violence is not violent force. So, you're absolutely right. You have to use the right amount of force. I have a black belt in karate, and I defend myself. I don't kill people. I just defend myself with as much force as I need without hurting the person too much. And if they want to hurt me, then I hurt them a little more. But I don't try to kill them. Okay. A society that condones capital punishment is acting as God by virtue of judgment. No, by virtue of action. Action, not judgment. The action is what's being judged, not the individual. If someone kills and kills and kills, and they continue to kill in the prison system, that is their action. And that person needs to be put away to protect innocence. That's what's so important, to protect innocence. This is why I say that it's a very small percentage of capital punishment. In many cases, some people can be rehabilitated, and some people just can be put away because they're so bad that they need to be put away. They don't have to be killed. I'm a peaceful person, but no one messes with me, with my kid. Very good. See, that's putting it into perspective. That's saying, I'm a peaceful person, but I'm not going to let anybody mess with my kids. That's crazy. And political correctness, to a certain degree, will say, we all need to get along. What if we can't get along? Well, we all need to get along. It's a kind of like the guy that I said that, well, I just don't want to talk about that because I wouldn't want to deal with that. They don't own their agency. They live as robotic wimps. And that's not good for your health, by the way. A robotic wimp lives in fear and doesn't know who the hell they are. Okay, getting close to the end here, my friends. This has been a wonderful thing. And I really enjoyed being with you today. It's a huge crowd today. So remember, what I ask of you, whether you agree with me or not, we can argue these things with respecting each other. So the point is that I want you to follow my work if you want to, if you find this helpful, here on House Shrink, and then go to my social media, YouTube, and under Dr. Mario Martinez. Go to follow, and there are a lot of close to 200 videos. Okay, there are a couple of other questions here that are just, thank you, enjoy your lunch. Thank you very much. And yeah, I love, Kurdish food is very much like the Persian food. Kebabs and yellow rice with saffron, really good, and great tea. All right, enjoy, and I will see you soon, but make sure that you follow my work. Click to follow, and go to YouTube channel, click there, and you have a tremendous amount of videos between House Shrink here on TikTok and YouTube, hundreds and hundreds of, thank you for your time, most enlightening, thank you very much. All right, so anyway, enjoy your day and find a favorite restaurant that you can go on Saturday or Sunday. Rituals are really very good for your health. So I suggest that you do that. All right, thank you, enjoy your lunch. I will. Thank you, friends. Bye-bye.